day to our viewing audience and to those who will watch the replay. I am Monica Leek, the managing editor of the PharSide Coed Book Club, and welcome to our 2021 edition of PharSide Folios, where we're kicking off our month-long celebration of African American children's and young adult literature with a special series of author interviews along with our daily posts. So we have with us Lakisha Tucker and her daughter Daleeia Tucker, the authors of Daleeia's Oh No, Second Grade. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves and about this process of writing the book as a mother-daughter team.
Well, it was very interesting. She did not always agree with some of the things that I had written. And so we would have to go back and redo it, reinvent the wheel again and again until seems like my boss lady was pleased with what we had in the making. So it was fun and it was challenging. What would you think, Dee?
Yeah, definitely some challenges, but in the end, it all worked out.
Mm-hmm. So what was the inspiration behind the book?
So the inspiration behind the book was that I had a book for my other daughter. I had written a memoir for my son, but there was not a book for Daleeia. And so I kept praying and praying, waiting for God to send me a book for her. And then he sent it. So we wanted to make sure that the book was impactful, that the book was semi-true. So we took her experience from second grade, which wasn't the very best. But we took that experience, we wrote on some of the things that were positive that she experienced. Some of the things in the book are fiction, but we took her second grade experience and we built things around that to make the book very interesting for children.
And so is there a favorite part or favorite line that you have in your story that you'd like to share with your audience, with our audience?
That's a good one.
My favorite, I don't know if it's
like
Dee's.
The running.
The running?
She's running.
At the end?
Well, both of you can share your favorite line.
This one? Okay, so I'll let her share first.
Okay, so it says, "Remember, Daleeia, the race is not given to the swift or to the strong, but to the one that endures until the end."
And that's a powerful statement. That's a powerful statement. And we love the artwork because the artwork is attention grabbing. And I love Daleeia's ponytails because, you know, they remind me of how my mother used to do my hair when I was little, and, you know, with the big bobos and the clips at the end. The little,
yes, you had to have the clips. You had to have those clips.
To have the clips at the end. So Lakisha, what was your favorite line from the book?
So my favorite line from the book says, I didn't know what happened. First, there was a big splat. I found my face flat against the wall. Oh boy, was it a great fall. My book bag flew up in the air. My lunchbox followed it somewhere. And so just goes to show like some of the things that can happen when you're walking in nervous and all of a sudden there is a catastrophe. And then how do you build yourself back from there? I also love this page because I implemented my grandmother in there as the principal. So she taught school for 30 plus years. And so I wanted to implement her in some kind of way. And so since she was bossy, I thought that principal would be a good role for her. So that is my favorite page of the book.
That's like branding and legacy together. Like, that's a beautiful concept. Somebody's going to put a pin in that idea right there, because look, we've got authors watching, we've got teachers who will be watching, we've got children who will be watching, aspiring young artists. So they're looking at you, Miss Daleeia and Miss Lakisha, for inspiration. So what is something that, you've gone through this process of publishing this book? What has been a challenge for you, and what has been a joy? Who wants to take that first?
Reading it to the elementary school, I would say for me.
They can hear you.
Oh, we were given the opportunity to be able to read the book to a second grade class over at Wiley Elementary School. And that was really, really entertaining and fun for the both of us, I would say.
And so for me, I would say one of the most challenging parts was that when we uploaded the book the first time, we uploaded the book and it was uploaded in error, and it did not format correctly. And so the page that was her favorite, where she's running, it actually somehow uploaded where she had on prostheses, and nowhere in there. And so we just, it was like the weirdest thing. And so I thought, like, oh, isn't that amazing? Like, to see a child run and like break out of the prostheses and then be able to finish the race. But I was like, that's not what we So that was one of the most difficult times, because it took seemingly forever to get it to be able to switch around. And so I want to say it took about 72 hours. So as a perfectionist, I just kept thinking, oh my goodness, it's out there on the ebook and it's out there wrong. It's out there on ebook and it's out there wrong. And then I just had to remember to err as human. And it's a life lesson, and that everybody makes mistakes. And in every book I read, I can find at least one error. So,
okay. Yeah, I get the whole perfectionist thing, and you're, going through this process. You're looking at dotting every I, crossing every T, looking at the illustrations, and does it match up with where the words are for that part? And does the artwork match up with what you're trying to say, because you're working with the illustrator? So that in itself is, a different aspect of the process. So Miss Daleeia, so what grade are you in now, and how old are you? And so is this your first published work?
Yes, this is my...
No.
Daleeia
and I have written poems together. So she has poems that are published work as well. But however, this is her first
book. I am 18 as of right now. And I attend GTCC Community College.
All right. Look, Guilford Tech down there in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yes.
Down there, and look, and I'm seeing the Aggie pride there. I'm seeing the Aggie pride.
The Aggies.
I'm a North Carolina native, so, and I've got Aggies all up and through my family. So Greensboro area, is got a lot of home family connections there. So look, way to represent your alma mater, and so thankful that Daleeia, that you are writing, and be encouraged, for young children are going to see this story and connect with this story at whatever age level they read it, as far as having that, there's something about that experience of tripping and falling in a crowded hallway, and the shoes flying, books flying, the lunchbox flying. You're already nervous, and you're afraid that somebody's going to laugh at you, or maybe somebody actually is laughing. You're trying to scramble and pull it all together. but a powerful, just looking at the way the story comes together with, making it into the classroom, the parent support, the classroom teacher support. And I'm not going to give the whole story away, because that people are going to need to go and get the book to find out what happens with Miss Daleeia. So what is something as authors that you want readers to take away from this book?
I would say to always be encouraged, to always have courage and always have faith. To the unexpected of what is going to happen, to know that in the end it's all going to work out.
And I think that very same thing. I mean, just to know that all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord, and that when you have those hiccups in life, that you may go down, but you also come back up. And so it's very important for people to understand that everybody is going to have a moment, a time that something goes awry, that they need somebody else, they need a shoulder. And so I think this book is a great example to give people an understanding that it's all right to be anxious, it's all right to be scared, it's all right to be fearful. But then also at the same time, you have to learn a way to master and understand how not to just survive, but to thrive.
All right. So one of our viewers, who's a teacher down in South Carolina, has got like a few questions. She's like hitting it up with the questions. Okay. So her first question is there a template that you use to write or get your book published?
We use KDP through Amazon, and I always use a storyboard when writing. So we write it, put it in the storyboard, and then we upload it to the illustrator and the editor.
Okay, so who did the illustrations for this particular book? Because they are amazing.
So this particular individual I found on Fiverr, and his name is, I don't want to say it wrong, Samir Kassar. I found him on Fiverr. He is very, very, very good. And show him the name. Okay, show him the name so I don't mess it up.
All right, you got Samir Kassar.
Yes, and so he was on Fiverr. And so I just wanted somebody on Fiverr that had examples of illustrations that we could look at of African Americans that would kind of like accentuate our ethnicity. And so this guy stood out, and so we went with him. Wow.
Well, thank you for taking those questions from our viewing audience. So Daleeia, what do you like to do when you are not writing?
Well, right now we can't do many outside activities. I hate to say this, but I would say sleep.
Look, there is nothing wrong with getting your sleep and getting your rest and renewal and time of refreshing.
Yes.
Time of refreshing. We call it the time of refreshing and allowing your soul to be restored.
Yes.
Through some rest. So I totally get it. I totally get it. So Lakisha, what is it for you when you're not, writing? What do you like to do?
For me, before the pandemic, I absolutely loved the Criminal Minds, Chicago, NCIS with LL Cool J. I absolutely loved it. But since the pandemic, things are they all just seem to be gloomy. And so I was telling her last week when I came home from work, I was like, man, I've been wearing this mask all day, and now I just need to find something I can laugh. And so anything that is comical, anything that's funny, I will often go to BET Plus and I will watch the same Medeas over and over and over, just so that I can laugh, because I know that when I get up in the morning, I got to turn right back around and do, you know, this incredible teaching thing all over again. And so I need to be rejuvenated. And so often Medea watches me, but it's a great feeling to at least start off laughing and laugh myself to sleep.
Okay, so I get that you have a background in teaching. So what's your grade level?
So currently I teach middle school 6th through
Okay.
8th. I am an EC teacher in Asheboro.
Okay, okay. My background is speech language pathology, and I'm school-based, K-12, and then I have background in library science as well. So that's why there's an overlap and connection between books and, you know, services, providing services for kids. So having, you know, looking at, you know, being able to connect authors and find books for, you know, for children that speak to empowering and encouraging and navigating the tough spots, like this story does with Daleeia, is encouraging, and I'm just like thrilled about it, having another dynamic story to add to my library, as well as encouraging teachers and my educators out there and parents out there to add this to their classroom libraries, because it matters so much to, you know, have these stories of victory and overcoming and meeting challenges and dealing with new situations and new environments. So this story does all of that in the life of a, you know, soon to be second grader, and how she engages in that process. So as writers, as a mother-daughter duo, what do you think makes a good story?
I'll let her answer that, because my story didn't suffice at first. So I'll let her answer what she feels like makes a great story.
Problems and solutions. Or you can say tests and testimonies. Those are really what drive a story to the end.
I think it's got to be something where it rises, you know, like to be able to use those rising actions to get to that climax, and then to be able to, you know, slide back down. And sometimes, yes. And sometimes when you come to the very end, it's not what you expect. So you kind of have like those cliffhangers in there. And so having a good story is something that's going to keep a child hooked all the way through. Then, like, how can I capture their attention with something interesting in the beginning, but then along the way put in little nuggets where it keeps them captivated as they read.
And this story does exactly that. From the time Daleeia puts her feet to the floor and she's dragging herself out of bed and worried and anxious, and hearing mom's footsteps like thuds of thunder coming down the hall. And I'm like, okay, why is this reminding me of my own experience as a child? It made me think, I'm like hearing my mother coming down the hall and calling my name, telling me it was time to get up. Time to get up. You know, it's red. You know, it's time. You got to do this. No choices, no options. So definitely, people will be able to relate to Daleeia's story, and so glad that you wrote it in something, and it's a chapter book. Okay, it's a chapter book. So, you know, for those beginning, you have those beginning readers, you're going to find a lot of their word wall and sight, you know, those sight words within the book. So that is going, as you know, give them opportunities to, you know, practice and build those reading skills with such a beautiful story. So another question, what do your other family members think about all of this writing that you guys are doing?
Well, we just keep writing. And so first, there was a story, I Just Want to Be Me. And we wrote that story out of adversity. It happened at my other daughter's school. And so we wrote this story. God kept sending more stories and more stories and more stories. So we started, and I just thought that like this would be like a one-time thing. Like I would write, I Just Want to Be Me, and that would be it. But then more stories and more stories and more stories. And so they just know that I write. And then when I call them in and say, hey, what do you think? And then they start changing stuff. Then that's just what we do. I mean, so I'll send it to her. I'll send it to her brother. I'll send it, I'll let the baby read it. Well, she's not a baby. She's 11. So let me change that. I'll let the 11-year-old read it. What do you think? And so I think it's important as a family to make sure that everybody kind of gets a say so in, what we're writing, what the illustrations look like. My son was adamant on Daleeia's Oh No Second Grade. Like there were a couple of pictures. He was like, no, I don't like that. And so we just kind of all go back and forth about what we think until we get to a place that we can agree. It's just what we do.
All right. So when I say representation matters, what does that mean to you, especially for this story of Daleeia's Oh No Second Grade?
So for me, when I think about representation, when you think about children's books and African Americans, in 2019, we had about 11, I think it was 11.2%. It was like 11% of books that were in print featured African Americans, whether they were male or female. And then in 2020, I want to say, I might have the years backwards, it was 12%. So 1 year it was 11, 1 year it was 12. And so slowly but surely, we are on the incline of having representation when it comes to African Americans. But it's vital that our children see people who look like themselves in books, that we're not just looking at books like our textbooks in our school that have some correct history in it, but most of the incorrect history in it. So to me and my family, it's vital that we cultivate, that we motivate, that we show people that you can come from a long line of negatives. You can come from a long lines of unsuccesses. It just takes one thing to make you successful. It takes one moment to make you successful. And so thinking about representation, we matter. And so if we're not writing with books that have us in it, we can't depend on anybody else to do that for us. Not in 2021.
So what are your thoughts, Daleeia, as a young African American woman, why, the representation matters?
I can remember being in school and not seeing many books with people who look like me in them. So to be able to have an opportunity like this, it's important, and many, many, many people need to be doing what we're doing now.
All right. So this is an encouragement for all of our aspiring writers that are looking and will watch the replay, who are watching live, to put pen to paper, that this process may, have its challenges. It may have its difficulties, along the way as you're, writing and editing and getting a proofreader, and you're getting, other people to read and review, and you're making final edits, and you've got to submit, and you've got to upload, and you've got to figure out the whole marketing thing, and how do you brand, and you've got all of these steps that you're trying to figure out. But at the end of the journey, you've got a product that you can be proud of, a story that conveys experience, a story that empowers, a story that encourages, and a story that uplifts and represents. And that's exactly what we have with this work from Lakisha and Daleeia Tucker from Oh No, that Oh No second grade. I mean, whoa. I mean, that was, that's just puts it right there. And we are thankful and blessed that we've had them as guests on our show today. So for our viewers and listeners, can you tell us how they can connect and follow you on social media and how they can purchase your books?
Absolutely. We can be found on Amazon. We can be found via social media at 50generationsllc.com on Facebook. We can also be found via email at 50generationsllc@gmail.com.
All right. So you've heard those connections and the website and where you can find them. If you need to go back and listen and catch the replay so you can write it down, we encourage you to do that. Follow them, connect them, reach out to them, especially, we're broadcasting and sharing with educators all over so that we can, build your library so that it is representative of the students that you have in your classroom. That's my personal encouragement to those out there who are in the field of education. And then for our parents, nothing is as important as having a book in hand.
Yes.
And having ownership of a book where a child can say, this is my book, it belongs to me. Just like, going to the book fair, years ago or before all of this, the pandemic happened, where the book fair came to school and you'd be all excited and wanting to see all the books. And now, you've got the opportunity to purchase books that reflect the experiences and look like your child.
Yes.
That this little Daleeia looks like my niece and looks like her in her little bonnet. And so that bonnet took me out when I first saw. I was like, oh my gosh, Daleeia got a bonnet. She waking up in the morning, got her bonnet on.
That's important.
Yes, that is important. That is representation, and it matters. So look, Daleeia, wear your bonnet, rock that bonnet, and step out of bed and get started with your day. So I would like to thank my guests, Miss Lakisha and Miss Daleeia Tucker, for spending time with us this afternoon, and we wish you continued success with Daleeia's Oh No second grade and all the wonderful projects that you have to come. We want to tell our listening audience and viewing audience, make sure you're staying tuned to the PharSide Coed Book Club Facebook page for more author interviews and posts as we celebrate African American children's and young adult literature during the month of February. So until next time, many roots, many voices are a part of the infinite story. Plant your seed and catch you next time on the far side.